Both my parents came here from Puerto Rico in 1948, and by the way, thank God they came here, because if they would have stayed in Puerto Rico, I wouldn't be here right now, because they didn't know each other, and they lived on two different parts of the island. So when they came here, it was the first time they met, and they ended up getting married. They both worked in factories. I'm one of seven. Back then we had 5 kids. There were 5 of us, and my parents, there were 7 of us that lived in a 3-bedroom place at Cabrini Green. And then 2 of my other brothers were born then, so then there were 9 of us in this 3-bedroom. Actually, we lived in Cabrini Green up until Martin Luther King got killed. And when all the riots and everything was going on, and I got accepted to Lane Tech, and I ended up going to Lane Tech, and I'm working at a restaurant. I was a dishwasher. I worked at the Tower Club at 20 North Wacker Drive. I started working there when I was 13 years old. I lied about my age for 3 years till I turned 16, which would have made me legal to work back then.
Yeah.
But I started working out at the Tower Club, which was a private club, and I was a dishwasher. And then I became a busboy, and I worked my all the way through the restaurant. And I ended up, when I was 18, I was tending bar, which was not legal, but it was a private club. I get a call from my father, "Don't come home, things are crazy here."
Wow,
so I ended up sleeping at the Tower Club for 3 days.
Yeah, wow.
And they were shooting and everything else. My father said, "Don't worry about us." Everybody. The thing about living in Cabrini Green, the people in your building, they all knew you. And everybody knew each other, and everybody helped each other. Everybody protected each other. And during the riots, there were some people from not in the area that wanted, to go into my parents' house. And all the people in our apartment 310, I remember that. And they protected my brothers and sisters and my parents, and I'll never forget that. We were a very close family, and we were, again, I worked, like I said, I started when I was 13. One of my brothers started when he was 14. We were all working, and I'll tell you another story. Up until I was about 21 years old, I never cashed one of my own checks. I would come home and just hand it to my father. And he would take, we were a family. He would take the check, groceries, and he'd give me my bus money and whatever I needed to get to and from school and to and from work. So we were, that's the way we were raised, and that's the way continue to do it. I was cleaning toilets in Humboldt Park. That was my job, 5 days a week. I worked after school, worked in Humboldt Park. And my job was to clean all the washrooms and lock them up at night, and make sure, and on the weekends open them up, close them up at the end of the evening, clean them up, lock them up, and go. Very interesting job. And I don't know if you're familiar with the boathouse.
Yeah.
Over in Humboldt Park. There were some mighty big sewer rats out there. I'm telling you, they were big. And you know what? I was scared of them too.
Yeah.
I had strict parents. They made me go to school. There was no way. In fact, I'll tell you another story on that one. But the thing is, it created opportunities for people who would not have had an opportunity back then. This was a way, to stabilize your family, get a position. Whether it was garbage. I never thought I was going to be elected official. When I got out of high school, I wanted a garbage truck driver's job, because that would allow me to make more money to help my family. As I said, most of my money went to my parents. Look at every prior assessor before me. They've never gotten the tax bills out on time. After 1 year being in that office, I got the tax bills out on time, which saved taxing bodies millions and millions of dollars, because they didn't have to go out and borrow money. We could never get the tax bills out on time. Well, Joe Berrios did, and saved the taxing bodies a lot of money. And in fact, 2 years ago, the Board of Education, because they got their money on time, were able to balance their budget because of that. So I'm proud of that stuff. I'm proud of the fact that we've taken over the assessor's office. We've made it one of the best places to appeal. And I don't tell people that I'm right. You know what? Give me the evidence, and I will reduce those assessments. But the thing is, we treat everyone equally, and we treat everyone fair.
Joe, no one ever is going to give you kudos for getting their property tax bills to them faster.
They should. No, honestly,
man.
okay, here's the deal. But here's the deal.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. Those tax bills don't come out on time. So everybody gets 3 months extra, right? Who pays for it?
Yeah, I know what you're
You
saying.
guys do. The
Yeah.
taxpayers pay for it because of the fact when they have to go out and borrow the money,
Right.
guess what? Next year, whatever that borrowing cost is, you're going to pay it.
Yeah, that's true.
You're going to pay it. So in actuality, us getting the tax bills out on time saves you money in the long run. When I first started working at the Board of Review, you talk about a closed practicing bar. There were 200 attorneys that practiced at the Board of Review when I first started there back in 1982 as a clerk back then. Today, we have about 2,500 different attorneys that practice at the Assessor's office and at the Board of Review. So the practice has expanded because, you know, number one, a lot of people don't understand the system, and we've tried teaching them the system. And, you know, we go out and do outreaches, we do all of that, and get people to file. And in actuality, you can actually, an individual can file a complaint at the Assessor's office and at the Board of Review. And if you want us to do the research, we'll do the research. And when I was at the Board of Review, I encouraged individuals to come in and file with us. We would take a look, we would do research for individual homeowners who really couldn't afford to have an attorney. And the success rate at the Board of Review was very high. And then we busted our tails to be fair and be equitable. And, you know, we opened it up where we told people, if you feel your assessment's too high, because, you know, we do it on a mass appraisal system. You know, it's not where we look at everybody's house individually. You know, we have criteria, you know, and they all have to meet those criteria. And we look at appraisal. I mean, 90%, actually, all the buildings that are downtown, the high-valued buildings that you talk, generally they come in with 3 or 4 appraisals. All they want is a fair opportunity, and that's all I can give them. You know, I give them an opportunity. You know, we set the assessments. They have to come in and prove to me that I'm wrong. You know, whether it's by appraisals or anything else, they've got to bring in the documentation for me to be able to hang my hat on and show me where I made a mistake on that particular property. You know, in actuality, if you look at any of these cases, you know, they come in, and most property owners feel they're too high. And I can tell you, you know, you look at the valuations, whether if it's a $30 million piece of property, you know, they come in and ask for 15 million. It's never going to happen. You know, we're not that far off. And if you look at all the statistical stuff and everything else, since I've been at the Assessor's office, we, in actuality, have come closest to getting the equalizer from the state. It keeps coming down, 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 which means we're doing a good, that's an indicator that we're doing the right kind of job at the Assessor's office right now. When I first became chairman, and it was slating time, I had one of the old committeemen come up to me, and he says, "Okay, Joe, who are we endorsing?" And I looked at him and said, "What are you talking about? Who are we endorsing for judge? Who are we doing this?" And I said, "You're on the committee. You're going to listen to all the committeemen, and you guys are all going to agree on the slate." And that's how today, if you look at the process that we have within the Cook County Democratic Party, we've been able, since I've been chairman, elect more Hispanic judges, more black judges. We've elected Asian judges. If you look at the ticket that we put together, it's a very diversified ticket. And we get input by all the committeemen. I mean, some of the old timers may not like it, but you know what? We have independents, we have people from throughout Cook County. The suburban committeemen, they always complained that they did not have enough say. So we created a suburban committee, and they all get together. I mean, they've got their choices too as to who they want to be slated. We don't slate judges to run countywide unless the major bar associations sign off on them and give us the qualifications that they have. We make sure that these judges have passed all the bar association and are reputable people,
Representative.
and, you know.
Okay,